Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So we're doing something I don't usually do on the Green Man channel, which is a mid-year recap or a mid-year list type of video, and I tend to not do that because I like to keep it very well disguised what my truly favourite albums or truly favourite horror films are until the end of the year. Although my reviews do tend to give away what what albums I really enjoy and really love. But I've decided to do it this time round for a couple of reasons, really. One reason, and perhaps the biggest reason, is that I've got a planned hiatus soon on the channel. I thought it'd be a nice thing for subscribers for me to do a bit of a mid-year recap before you obviously get a gap in content for a fairly indefinite period. I thought it would just be a nice thing to do to present some of my real favourites so far from 2024 in terms of both albums and horror films, combining the two in one video. So combining horror content and music content in the same video. So if you follow my channel for both of those things, for both the rock and metal album content, but also for the horror movie content, then you're in the right place. This is the video for you because I'm combining both, which I don't often tend to do. But I thought, again, it will be a nice thing to do. It's one of the last videos I do before I go on my break. And we're going to start here with favourite metal albums, or, I think these are pretty much all metal albums that are my favourite records of this year so far that I'm going to be talking about in this video. We're going to start with Unleash the Archers and Phantoma. An album which, a band which I didn't even know until this year actually. Heard some good things about them, but never really checked them out properly until the release of this album. And what an album to be the one that I discovered them through. I think it's a really great record, really well produced. But I think the songwriting is very good. The inspiration for the album is very interesting as well, with its sort of sci-fi AI concept. And Brittany Slayes is a brilliant vocalist. And I've also come to realise more and more on repeat listens how much I enjoy the drumming of Scott Buchanan on this record too, which I think, you kind of hear the things he's doing. More and more I listen to some of the songs on this record, I'm like, yeah, I really enjoy the drumming on this track. And yeah, it's a really quite sensational record, I think. It's one of the best I think I've heard for sure in 2024 so far. So that's Unleash the Archers and Phantoma. Next up, I'm talking about Judas Priest and Invincible Shield. I mean, you can't get much bigger than Judas Priest, right? When you're talking about classic heavy metal bands, and sort of Judas Priest here delivering, late on in their careers, another really great record. I thought Firepower was really good, but I think Invincible Shield I might be enjoying this even more because I've been back to it probably more than I went back to Firepower, about the same length of time after I'd first listened to Firepower. So really promising sign that this is going to be a Judas Priest album that ends up very high on my year-end list. And, I think Invincible Shield just ticks a lot of the boxes of what great Judas Priest usually sounds like. But Andy Sneap's production on this is excellent too. And, the guitar work of Richie Faulkner and Glenn Tipton's also top-notch. So lots to love about Invincible Shield by Judas Priest. And, really love stuff like Gates of Hell. The middle songs on the album I'm really loving a lot, like Crown of Thorns as well. And As God Is My Witness was just an immense, epic Judas Priest chorus in that song. Really great. Next up, we're talking about a band called Illumishade and their second album called Another Side of You. Again, another new discovery for me this year in 2024. A project which is kind of like a bit like an Elverti spin-off, but it doesn't sound much like Elverti. This is very much, I think, Fabian Ernie and Jonas Wolf's kind of own imagining of a band, combining like the songwriting. I think almost is definitely a lot of elements of pop, but combined with a very modern sort of that gent guitar sounds, and the two combined, you wouldn't necessarily expect to work extremely well, but they make it work. And, you've got a whole variety of brilliant songs on here, like Cloud Reader, Here We Are, Cyclone, Fairy Tale, Riptide, a song towards the end that I've been absolutely loving this year and repeat listened a lot. So another great album from this year. Next up, I'm going to talk about a debut album from a death metal band called Evulsion. Another big surprise this year for me, not because I went in with them, I didn't go in with any low expectations, but I didn't really know what to expect. I did know that Elena Verrier was in this band, and she's a YouTuber and guitarist, and the quality of the death metal offerings in this record is absolutely top tier stuff. You can hear influences. You can hear the influences, I think, of some more technical death metal bands of the past. You can hear a bit of the groove, you know, a bit of that Dying Fetus element to this album for me, but also you get some aspects of death, a bit of obituary, you know, every now and then. Even a little bit of more, like I say, a bit more of those technical kind of bands like Nile as well. And it's just like a melting pot of amazing death metal. And what more can you ask for a debut record from this band as well? That's Evulsion's Spiritual Putrefaction, if I didn't already say the album title. So the last album I'm going to talk about is one of my real favourites from this year. There have been other favourites as well that I'm not talking about in this video, but the last album I'm going to talk about that's been one of my favourites from 2024 so far is Crypt Sermon and the Stygian Rose. The third album from the band, following in the footsteps of a great album like The Ruins of Fading Light, but this one possibly is even better than that record. And I just love this album. You know, it's kind of got, it feels like it flows better and it's a bit more concise than the aforementioned Ruins of Fading Light. And it's got an epic sound, a bit akin to Candlemass, their sound, but this one's developing their sound a bit more, I think, bringing a little bit more sort of traditional and even a little bit of thrash metal every now and then. It just makes for an absolutely super record. Another one that's probably in the running for album of the year, somewhere there, you know, top 10 maybe at the moment, I don't know. Maybe it could climb the list because it seems to have that ability as well to keep going up in my estimation. So another front runner from 2024. Now that's some of my favourite records so far from this year. There have been lots and lots of others. 2024 has been a super strong year, I think, in the metal world anyway. But now we're going to move on. We're going to talk about some of my favourite horror films this year. Now, I have to say, I've actually been kind of disappointed with the horror films we've had so far in 2024, just at least the ones that I've seen. And I'm sure there are plenty of horror films that actually have been good that I haven't watched yet. Some of those that I haven't watched that I'm aware I need to watch, like I saw The TV Glow and Late Night with the Devil. I also mean to watch that at some point. I'm also going to see Maxine later this week. So there's plenty of opportunities and lots more horror to come yet this year. We're only halfway through the year and I'm determined that it's going to get better. And from a lot of the reviews I've kind of, you know, come across on YouTube, that it seems like Maxine is going to be good. Some of my trusted, you know, your horror YouTuber sources are saying it's a really good one. So I'm very excited about Maxine. But we're just talking about the ones I've seen so far because I'm trying to record this video before my holiday and then before my hiatus. So obviously, you know, trying to get this content up before it's, you know, pretty much before I run out of time, before I go on my hold. So anyway, let's talk about the first one here that I'm going to be mentioning, which is Lisa Frankenstein, directed by Zelda Williams. And, you know, this is a horror comedy film. And I think what it does best is capturing the zeitgeist of the late 80s era, particularly with the music choices and the aesthetic choices of this particular movie. I think Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse have some great chemistry. I like the idea of the film as well, you know, a girl sort of rebuilding or building her romantic interest from the grave. I mean, it's kind of got a lot of comedic opportunities. I do think it missed some of the comedic opportunities in the film, though. It certainly isn't, you know, necessarily an amazing movie, but I do think it's one of the better ones I've seen so far this year. Very entertaining, and it comes in as one of my favourites so far from 2024 so far. Now, next up, I'm going to talk about a film which starred Sydney Sweeney, directed by Michael Mohan. It's called Immaculate. And apparently it's been in the making for quite a long time. Sydney Sweeney is a real rising star. I mean, her star just seems to keep rising at this point in time. She's very sought after. And I think that her performance is actually one of the big appeals of Immaculate. I don't necessarily think the film is doing lots that's really brand new within horror, and it's another supernatural film. So that's going to put a lot of people off. In fact, it was something I thought, oh, here we go again. But Sydney Sweeney does anxiety-inducing scenes and intense horror scenes really well. And a lot of those intense scenes are just done, you know, from the perspective of filmmaking generally. There's a lot to like about Immaculate. So I do think it's a strong film. you know, again, not necessarily going to blow you away, although there is a very disturbing ending to this film. But I think it was good enough, and it's turned out to be one of my favourite horror films so far from this year in 2024. Next up, I'm going to talk about a French film. It's good to talk about sometimes, you know, a film that's not a big theatrical release, and this is Infested. This was directed by Sebastian Vanecek. This came out on Shudder, I think, and, you know, great creature feature, this one. You know, if you, you know, like, I mean, I'd say maybe if you don't like spiders, this might not be for you, because it's very focused in on spiders. But I think it builds character relationships really well, and it does capture how people react to the fear of spiders and the panic of seeing a spider, you know, very well. Except these aren't just little house spiders, right? These are pretty deadly, you know, infestations of spiders. So the highlights for me of this film revolve around the scenes where people are reacting to the spiders, and it's really quite intense and, you know, suspenseful whenever you see, oh, look, there's one of those little spiders, what's going to happen next to the person that's kind of in the mix, in the same room as the spiders, or in the same corridor or the same tunnel. And it makes it for really interesting viewing. I think it's very intense, but very entertaining. Definitely one of the better ones, better horror films I've probably seen all year round so far. Now lastly, and disappointing lastly, but as I say, there have not been that many horror films that I've really loved so far this year, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but there's also a lot of horror films to come that, as I say, I'm really excited about, and the second year does seem to be offering the likes of, you know, Alien, Romulus, you've got Beetlejuice 2 still to come, Terrifier 3, as I mentioned, you know, I'm about to see Maxine very soon, so there's a lot still to look forward to. Yes, look, for me, just a bit disappointing thus far this year. The last film I'm going to talk about, though, which certainly didn't disappoint, was Abigail, which I actually went to see on my birthday. It's a bit of a birthday treat, and it's this comedy horror film. You know, if you enjoyed Ready or Not, directed by the same directors, Matt Bettinelli, Olpin, and Tyler Gillett, I think you'll enjoy this film very much. And I think the absolute star of the film is Abigail herself, the vampire girl, who every scene she's in, you know, she really, you know, you just want to see what she's going to do, what she's going to say. And she has that screen presence that, you know, doesn't come to everybody naturally. I think she's got that screen presence, this actress, this child, she's very young, but she's a child, and she's absolutely phenomenal. I do also like the supporting casts, and you know, Melissa Barrera's got quite an interesting character here, and you're just about invested enough in the characters. I think, you know, what I like is the way that they find out each other's secrets as the film goes on. You know, it's sort of a little like elements of Scream, with, as you find out, you know, who is, you know, who has the darkest sides to them and that sort of thing. But it's a good film, and it has enough of a story to it for me to really enjoy it. So that's the final horror film. I'm going to wrap up this video now, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. Do let me know, perhaps either, if you're here for horror content, then let me know your favourite horror films. If you're here for the music content, let me know your favourite albums so far this year. If you're here for both, let me know both your favourite albums and your favourite horror films. Otherwise, for me, have great weeks, everybody. This is one of my last videos before my hiatus. It's not quite my last video, but until next time, anyway, everybody, bye for now.